Mzee Juma lay sprawled on his wooden bed, the thin mattress barely cushioning his bony frame. His tiny room smelled of herbal ointments, old blankets, and the faint aroma of yesterday's boiled maize. The wooden walls, decorated with faded portraits of long-gone ancestors, seemed to close in on him, reminding him that soon, he too would be just another face in a dusty frame. Outside his room, chaos brewed like an overboiled pot of beans. His children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and relatives he barely recognized had gathered like vultures circling a dying cow. "I'm telling you," whispered his eldest son, Baraka, a stout man with a permanent frown, "father's time is near. We need to discuss, the land." His sister, Fatuma, raised an eyebrow. "Land? What about the cows? And the shop in the market? I've been running it for years." "Running it into the ground, you mean," muttered Baraka under his breath. Fatuma shot him a glare sharp enough to slice a cassava in half. In the corner, Juma's youngest grandson, Tunu, asked loudly, "If Babu dies, can I have his radio?" A chorus of gasps filled the room, followed by a sharp slap on the back of Tunu's head from his mother. "Shoo! Respect the dying," she hissed. Inside his room, Mzee Juma sighed loudly. "Oh, these fools. My cows haven't even mourned me yet, and they're already sharing my socks," he thought. He shifted uncomfortably, groaning just loud enough for the noise outside to stop. His eldest daughter, Maryam, rushed in, dramatically wiping imaginary tears. "Baba, do you need water?" "Tea? I will." Mzee Juma gave her a look that said, "Really? I'm not thirsty," he croaked. "But I do need something." "Anything, Baba," she said eagerly, ready to write down whatever property she was about to inherit. "I need a wife." The room went silent. Dead silent. Even the noisy chicken outside stopped clucking. "A what?" Maryam shrieked. "A wife," Mzee Juma repeated calmly. "Before I die, I want to get married." From the next room, there was a thud. Baraka had fainted. Fatuma rushed in. "Baba, are you serious? At your age?" Mzee Juma raised an eyebrow. "At my age, what? I'm too old to want companionship. Or are you afraid I'll leave everything to my new wife instead of you hyenas?" Maryam's eyes widened. No, Baba. It's just you're half dead." Mzee Juma finished for her, chuckling. "Exactly. That's why I don't have time to waste." Baraka, recovering from his fainting spell, staggered in. "But Baba, why now? Why not now?" Mzee Juma shot back. "All my life, I worked, I farmed, I raised you ungrateful children. Now that I'm dying, let me at least enjoy my last days with someone who doesn't want my land." Fatuma whispered to Maryam, "This must be the malaria talking." Mzee Juma, with his sharp hearing, barked, "It's not malaria. It's wisdom. And don't think I don't hear you whispering about my cows. The cows like me more than they like you." Baraka, still in shock, tried a different approach. "But Baba, won't it be difficult to find someone your age willing to marry you?" Mzee Juma grinned mischievously. "Ah, Baraka. When you have charm like mine, age is just a number. Now, if you all don't mind, go find me a bride. Or I'll haunt you after I'm gone." The family left the room, whispering furiously. "This is madness," Fatuma exclaimed. "Who's going to marry an 85-year-old man?" Baraka nodded. "We'll find someone. But we'll make sure it doesn't work out." Tunu, the mischievous grandson, whispered to his sister, "If Babu gets married, do I still get his radio?" By the next morning, the news had spread faster than gossip about free food at a wedding. At the village market, Mama Chiku, the tomato seller, gasped, Mzee Juma wants to get married. Isn't he older than my grandmother's cat? At the barber shop, Juma's old friend Musa chuckled. Juma always said he'd go out with a bang. I just thought it'd be the bang of his walking stick hitting the floor. At the village well, young women whispered, imagine being his wife. Every night, rubbing his back with herbal oil. No thank you. Yet, despite the initial shock, curiosity grew. And so did the line of unexpected suitors. Back at Mzee Juma's house, the family had reluctantly set up interviews for potential brides. Miriam, acting as a stern gatekeeper, opened the door to the first candidate. A tall, broad-shouldered woman with 7 noisy children trailing behind her marched in. A Mama Pendo. I'll marry him, but my children come too. Mzee Juma eyed the children, who were already climbing his mango tree. Are they always this energetic? Mama Pendo nodded proudly. Yes. They'll keep you young. Mzee Juma chuckled. No, they'll keep me in the grave. Next. The next candidate was a young woman, barely in her 20s. She giggled, I don't mind an older man. As long as he buys me a new phone every month. Mzee Juma raised an eyebrow. I have 1 foot in the grave, not 1 foot in a bank vault. Next. One by one, women came and left. Some wanted his land, others wanted his money, and one even wanted his cow named Ngom because it looked cute. As the day ended, the family sighed in relief. See, Baba. No one is suitable, Miriam said hopefully. But Mzee Juma grinned mischievously. Who said I need your help to find a bride? I already have someone in mind. The family gasped. Who? Mzee Juma leaned back on his pillow, chuckling. Wait and see. And with that, the drama and comedy had only just begun. The next morning, the Juma household buzzed with confusion and speculation. The family huddled in the courtyard, whispering furiously. Who could it be? Baraka muttered, pacing back and forth like a chicken that had forgotten where it laid its egg. Fatuma rolled her eyes. Maybe it's someone from his past. Remember Mama Injeri? She used to send him extra chapatis when he visited her food stall. Miriam shook her head. Mama Injeri. She's older than Baba. She can barely remember her own name, let alone say I do. Suddenly, Tunu, who had been eavesdropping by Mzee Juma's window, ran in, panting. I know who it is. Everyone froze. Who? They shouted in unison. Tunu grinned mischievously. I heard Babu talking to someone on the phone. Her name is, wait for it. Zawadi. Zawadi. Baraka furrowed his brow. Who's Zawadi? Fatuma's eyes widened. No. It can't be. Zawadi. The nurse from the clinic? Miriam gasped. The young nurse. The one with the, you know, Fatuma gestured wildly, trying to emphasize Zawadi's youthful attributes. Why would she marry Baba? Baraka scoffed. She's young, beautiful, and sane. Inside his room, Mzee Juma chuckled to himself. Oh, fools. They don't know my charm still works. That afternoon, Zawadi, the village nurse, arrived. She was tall, with dark skin that glowed like polished ebony, and a smile that could cure headaches faster than any medicine. She walked with confidence, her white nurse's uniform neatly pressed, and a stethoscope hanging around her neck. Mzee Juma greeted her with a wide grin. Ah, Zawadi. My future bride. Zawadi laughed. Mzee Juma, I'm not marrying you. The grin vanished. What? But I told everyone. Zawadi patted his shoulder. I came to check your blood pressure, not to say vows. Outside, the family watched eagerly, peeking through windows and behind doors. See, She said no, Mariam whispered, relieved. But Mzee Juma wasn't giving up. Zawadi, imagine the headlines, Nurse Mary's village hero. Zawadi chuckled. Village hero. Mzee, the last time you tried to herd goats, they chased you into the river. Mzee Juma pouted. That was one time. Zawadi shook her head, laughing. I have patience to see. Goodbye, Mzee Juma. As she left, the family burst into laughter. Baraka smirked, well, that settles it. No wedding. But Mzee Juma, ever the schemer, grinned. Oh, but I never said Zawadi was my only option. The family groaned in unison. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The rejection from Zawadi didn't deter Mzee Juma. In fact, it fueled him. As the sun set over the village, casting golden hues over the thatched roofs, Mzee Juma lay in his bed, plotting. If not Zawadi, he mumbled to himself, then who? Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Mama Kina. Mama Kina, the widow who sold mangoes at the market, was known for two things, her delicious fruit and her sharp tongue. She had sent many a young man running with her quick wit and no-nonsense attitude. The next morning, Mzee Juma, wrapped in a blanket and leaning heavily on his walking stick, for dramatic effect, made his way to the market. The villagers stared, whispering. Isn't he dying? One asked. Maybe he forgot, another replied. Mzee Juma reached Mama Kina's stall, gasping loudly. Oh! My heart longs for you, Mama Kina. Mama Kina raised an eyebrow. Mzee Juma, if your heart is longing for me, you better have money to buy these mangoes. The market erupted in laughter. Mzee Juma grinned. Oh, Mama Kina, your humor is sharper than my back pain. But I'm serious. Marry me. Mama Kina leaned forward, smirking. Marry you? Mzee Juma, I don't have time to take care of a husband who might outlive my mangoes. Mzee Juma gasped. I'm offended. I'm very healthy. Mama Kina laughed. Healthy? Last week, you said you had 3 days to live. Now you're proposing marriage. Mzee Juma pouted. Maybe I exaggerated slightly. Mama Kina waved him off. Go home, Mzee Juma. Your family will have my head if I entertain your nonsense. Defeated once again, Mzee Juma trudged back home, his mind racing. The villagers, meanwhile, couldn't stop talking about the old man's antics. At home, the family greeted him with knowing smiles. Let me guess, Baraka said, barely containing his laughter. Mama Kina turned you down. Mzee Juma huffed. She's blind to my charm. Fatuma chuckled. Or maybe she's not blind at all. But Mzee Juma wasn't ready to give up. That night, as he lay in bed, he whispered to himself, if I can't find a bride, maybe I can make one. The next morning, the village awoke to a shocking announcement. Mzee Juma had placed an ad in the local radio station. Old but gold, the ad said, seeking a bride with a sense of humor, strong cooking skills, and an ability to ignore minor health issues. Apply at Juma's residence immediately. The family was mortified. The villagers, amused beyond words. But what shocked everyone more was the knock on Mzee Juma's door that evening. A young woman stood there, smiling brightly. I'm here to apply. The family gasped. Mzee Juma grinned. Well, welcome. The drama had just begun. The young woman standing at the door had everyone in the Juma household frozen in disbelief. She was tall, with deep brown skin that gleamed like polished mahogany. Her bright kitenge dress, a vibrant mix of yellow and red patterns, swayed as she shifted nervously. Wait, you're serious? Fatuma blurted out. The woman chuckled softly. Yes, I heard the ad on the radio. Mzee Juma, trying to hide his excitement, adjusted his blanket dramatically. "Oh, destiny has brought you to me, my dear," he paused, realizing he didn't know her name. What's your name, child?" "Naima," she replied. Baraka, still in shock, whispered to Mariam, "She's young enough to be his granddaughter." Naima smiled warmly. "I know what you're thinking. Why would a young woman like me want to marry an old man?" "Yes," the entire family chorused. Naima shrugged. "Well, I need a place to stay, and you need a bride. Seems like a fair deal." Mzee Juma beamed. "See? She's practical. I like her already." Fatuma, still skeptical, crossed her arms. "And what happens when he, eventually?" Mzee Juma interrupted, "Hey. I'm still here." Naima laughed. "Well, I figure that's his family's problem." The family stared at each other, speechless. Later that night, the household buzzed with frantic whispers. "This can't be happening," Mariam whispered. Baraka nodded. "She's probably after the inheritance." Fatuma added, "What inheritance? All he owns is this old house and a collection of broken radios." Meanwhile, in his room, Mzee Juma and Naima sat chatting like old friends. "So," Naima said, grinning, "what's the real reason you want to get married?" Mzee Juma chuckled. "Honestly, to mess with my family. They've been treating me like I'm already in the grave." Naima laughed. "Well, I can definitely help with that." The next morning, the village was in an uproar. News of Mzee Juma's new bride spread faster than a bushfire. At the market, Mama Kina chuckled. "Poor girl. She doesn't know what she signed up for." At the barber shop, the men debated. "Maybe he's not dying after all," one said. "Or maybe marriage is his final prank," another replied. Back at the Juma household, the preparations for the wedding began. Naima, despite being the bride, directed the chaos with surprising efficiency. "Baraka, stop burning the mandatsi," she shouted from the kitchen. "Fatuma, those decorations look like they were made by a blind goat." Mzee Juma watched, impressed. "You might actually survive this family," he whispered to himself. Finally, the big day arrived. The villagers gathered, curious to witness what promised to be the most bizarre wedding of the year. As Mzee Juma stood at the altar, a borrowed wooden bench, he grinned. "This will be our wedding to remember," he thought. And indeed it would be, but not for the reasons he expected. The sun was high, casting a golden glow over the village square. Villagers, young and old, gathered to witness what promised to be the most unforgettable wedding in living memory. Mzee Juma, dressed in a well-worn suit that smelled faintly of mothballs, stood proudly at the makeshift altar, adjusting his bow tie. He leaned on his walking stick, not out of necessity, but for dramatic effect. Baraka whispered to Mariam, "I still can't believe this is happening." Mariam shook her head. "At this point, I'm just here for the food." Suddenly, the mamas of the crowd hushed as Naima appeared. She was radiant, wearing a white kitenge gown with intricate red and gold embroidery. Her head was wrapped in a matching geli, and she walked with the grace of a queen. Even Mzee Juma's jaw dropped. Maybe this wasn't such a bad idea after all," he muttered. The ceremony began, led by the village elder, Babu Mzee Keto, who squinted at the couple. "Juma, are you sure about this?" "Too late now, Babu," Mzee Juma replied with a grin. The villagers chuckled. As Babu Keto recited the vows, Mzee Juma interrupted, "Skip to the I do part before I change my mind." Laughter erupted. Finally, the moment arrived. "Do you, Naima, take this old man to be your husband?" Babu Keto asked, struggling not to laugh. Naima smiled. "I do. And do you, Juma, take this very patient young woman to be your wife? I do. Mzee Juma shouted before Babu Keto could finish. Just as the elder declared them husband and wife, chaos erupted. A loud voice shouted from the back, "Stop the wedding." Everyone turned to see Mama Kina, hands on her hips. "Juma, you old goat. You asked me to marry you just last week," she yelled. Mzee Juma laughed. "Mama Kina, I did. But you said no. Your loss." The villagers roared with laughter. As the newlyweds walked down the aisle, Naima whispered to Mzee Juma, "So, what now, husband?" Mzee Juma grinned. Now we give the village something to gossip about for the next decade." The reception was lively, filled with dancing, laughter, and endless jokes about Mzee Juma's miraculous recovery. Later that night, as the guests left, Naima sat with Mzee Juma on the porch. "Why me?" she asked softly. Mzee Juma chuckled. "Because you're sharp, funny, and not afraid of a challenge. And, well, I like a bit of chaos." Naima laughed. "Well, Mzee Juma, chaos is exactly what you got." The old man sighed contentedly. "If I die tomorrow, at least I'll die laughing." Naima shook her head, smiling. "With you around, dying of laughter seems very likely." The village never stopped talking about Mzee Juma's last laugh, and in the end, that's exactly what he wanted.